Front page of the Mail on Sunday, SNP's Charter for Sex at 13. The Daily Telegraph reported the story as well. Right, this is based on some new guidance published by the Scottish Government that says that children between 13 and 15 who have sex together basically won't be prosecuted, and that teachers or social workers or whoever who know about that will keep it a secret from parents if that's what the young people want. Now, why this is suddenly a new story, I really do not know, because this is nothing new. This has been the case for decades, possibly, certainly throughout my teaching career. This has been the guidance that I've been aware of. It's all part of the children's rights agenda that dominates in Scottish education and in the government as well. Now, the age of consent in Scotland is effectively 13. Officially, nominally, it's 16. And if years ago, if the Scottish Government said, look, we're going to change the age of consent, we're going to change it from 16 to 13. Let's have a consultation, let's have a debate, let's take a vote on it, we'll put it in our manifesto, let's do that. Would they do that? No way. Much too controversial. So they do it on the sly by just saying basically, well, if it's two people between 13 and 15, we won't prosecute it. Now, if something's illegal, but you say you won't prosecute it, well, it's really not illegal anymore, is it? So the age of consent in Scotland effectively is 13. There is the caveat that's only between, children aged 13, 14, 15 with each other. It gets a bit more complicated when one of them is a bit older. Now, do you remember when this was introduced? Remember the massive controversy? No, nor do I, because there wasn't any. Where was the Conservative Party then? Were they kicking up a fuss? Did they put it in their manifesto ever since that they would reverse this policy? No. I mean, now when the Daily Mail phones them up and says, can you give me a quote? They'll say, oh, yes, we don't agree with that. Hopeless. Will it be in their manifesto for the next election? No. Was it in their manifesto for the last election? No. Was it in the Scottish Family Party manifesto? Yes. Yes, it was. Now, we come to the issue of confidentiality. I mean, this is the SNP Green government. I mean, surely you've got the picture by now. Their children's rights ideology leads them to help children to keep secrets from their parents. So a 13-year-old can have an abortion, be on drugs, changing gender at school, anything and everything. But if they say they want to keep it secret from their parents, then usually that is what would happen. And so, getting condoms or talking about sexual relationships, obviously that can be kept secret from parents. That's just par for the course. I mean, that ship sailed, again, years, decades ago, with no political opposition to it in Scotland. So let's have a look at this new child protection guidance published by the government. Here's this definition of child sexual abuse. Definition: child sexual abuse is an act that involves a child under 16 years of age in any activity for sexual gratification of another person, whether or not it is claimed that the child either consented or assented. Okay, so sex, basically with someone under 16, is child sexual abuse. That's it. Then further on in the same section, it says child protection concerns arise when the impact of underage sexual activity could cause significant harm. A young child under 13 years of age cannot consent to any form of sexual activity. So what they're saying there, any sex with someone under 16 is child sexual abuse. But if they're 13 and over, it's not necessarily a child protection concern. In other words, therefore, by logical extension, some child sexual abuse is not a child protection concern. Okay, try and get your head around that. Right. Also in the document it says possible indicators of child sexual exploitation. Children under 13 asking for sexual health advice. Not children 15 and under, children under 13, so 12 and below. So if a 13-year-old goes to the sexual health clinic repeatedly, for an abortion or two, morning after pill, sexually transmitted infections, is that to be taken as an indicator of child sexual exploitation? No, because they're 13. It's only 12 and under where that would ring alarm bells. Now, apparently during the grooming scandals, this was one of the problems, that these young girls were going to sexual health services, and instead of the alarm being rung, they were following this policy. Oh, they're 13, they're 14, so it's fine. That's not a possible indicator of child sexual exploitation. Right, what else does this have to say? If a young person is under 16 and sexually active, professionals considering overriding the young person's confidentiality must first consider the circumstances of the specific case, consulting with child protection leads as appropriate. The child's wishes and feelings must be heard and taken into account. That is the philosophy. If the children want to keep it secret from their parents, which they almost always will, probably, because the parents are the ones who really care for them. They're the people who will be really bothered that they're basically making mistakes in their life. They're making bad decisions that are not going to unfold well in the future. The parents care about that. So the parents would want to do something about that, to try and guide them away from that. So the parents must be kept out of the picture. And it's got to be the non-judgmental, anything goes, basically we don't care about your future type professionals who are dealing with it. Right, continuing about confidentiality, recognition should be given for the particular issues for LGBT young people. Schools should be alert to the fact that some young people may not have told everyone in their lives about their sexual orientation and or gender identity. And outing them could cause needless distress. So telling parents that, for example, a boy has engaged, say, in homosexual sex acts with another boy at school, right, to inform the parents, that would cause needless distress. Informing the parents, putting the parents in the picture of what's going on with their son, that has no point, that has no purpose, and the distress caused would therefore be needless. Right, let's have a look at the Scottish Sex Education Resources at rshp.scot. This is from a lesson plan. The law says that it is illegal to have sex before you're 16. But this law is really to protect young people from adults, not to make them feel worried or frightened about the law. In other words, it's illegal to have sex when you're under 16, but don't worry, you don't need to be frightened about that. You don't need to worry, nothing's going to happen. It's not really illegal. It's fine. And then there's the idea of sexual rights. I made a video about that a couple of years ago. I'll put that in the end screen. They basically teach young people they've got a right to have sex at whatever age. It's their human right to engage in illegal underage sex. Right, more from the lesson plan. If they do have sex before they're 16 and want to get some good advice and support, maybe contraception and condoms, then young people should understand that a professional person would not be expected to report them to the police unless the young person is at risk. And the guidance to the police would be that they wouldn't prosecute in that sort of case, in any case. But if the young person wants good advice, not any old sort of rubbish you'd get from parents, if they want good advice, then they should understand that a professional person is the person to go to. The professional person does need to make sure that the young person, let's say a 13-year-old girl, is safe and happy with the situation. So if the 13-year-old girl is safe and happy with having sex with the 15-year-old boy or whatever, then as long as she's safe and happy, allegedly, then that's absolutely fine. Again, also from the lesson plan, sexual health clinics see young people aged 13 and over. It is confidential, and they are not allowed to tell your parent or carer. How about that for conspiratorial? We don't even allow them. It's not just that they think it's best not to, they're not allowed to tell your parent or carer. So we can guarantee keeping this secret from your parents. Young people aged 13 or over have the right to expect medical confidentiality, including the right to access contraception and condoms in confidence. Obviously, that's just part of the ethos. Then that same lesson plan, it then goes on to talk about trusted people that you can go to for advice. And the lesson plan says to name 5 people. So you name 5 people, so it might be, mum, then it might be teacher, guidance teacher, school counsellor, whoever else. So you name the 5 trusted people. And the idea is that it relativizes family. If you have to name these people, they're not all family members, they can't all be family members, and then you have to pick which one you trust to go and speak to about these things. They've just been telling you the professionals are the ones who will keep it secret and they'll be non-judgmental. Then it's like inviting the young people. It's saying, look, you're not going to want to go to mum and dad, are you? These are the people who are really on your side. It's the professionals. Now, whenever I quote something from the Scottish Sex Education Resources, people always say, oh, I don't believe it, you're making it up. The link's below. Okay, sorry to be blunt, but if you can't be bothered looking at the link and checking it for yourself, please don't write in the comments It's not true, it's not true, you're making it up. Okay, the link's there, check it yourself. Right, Scottish family party policy is it would make the age of consent 16 again, no ifs, no buts. But the trend in Scotland is in the other direction, the children's rights, children's liberation, ousting parents, undermining their authority, promoting the influence of professionals in young people's lives. In some cases, they'll even talk about abolishing childhood as a concept. All those trends are moving in the other direction than maintaining a high and clear age of consent. I mean, Dr. Colin Morrison, the man in charge of the Scottish Sex Education Project, as far as I can tell, he wants to scrap age of consent laws altogether in order to do what he thinks is necessary, which is to break down the barrier between childhood and sexuality. And I think that's the direction we're heading in. Right, so how can you push back on all these things? Well, you can join the Scottish Family Party, obviously, there's a link below. But also on Sunday the 27th of February 2022, there is a demonstration outside the BBC in Glasgow at Pacific Quay, organised by Glasgow Cabby. The main focus of it is the Scottish Schools Sex Survey, but I would imagine these issues will come to light as well. So we'll look at some more broader issues of sexuality and education in Scotland. So I hope you can make it there. There should be quite a crowd. There was a good crowd last time. Hopefully this will be an even bigger crowd. So it'd be great to see you there.